Hello everyone. So today, welcome to the Python course. Today in this lecture, we will cover the module second, that is Python data types and variables. In this part, we're gonna cover introduction to Jupyter notebooks, variables, data types, typecasting, print statement, input function, and then we'll come up with the exercise. In the previous lecture, I've told you how to install the Anaconda and how to start working with the Jupyter notebooks. If you haven't watched my earlier videos, you can go through it and you can check how we have done the installation process. Now, let's start with our Anaconda. Now, onto your Windows machine, under the Start menu on the search bar, type Anaconda Navigator. This kind of logo will appear, and when you hit enter, processing will start and a screen will come. Right. So now the Anaconda Navigator screen shows up at your machine, in which you could see various options and various tools which are needed for your working in the Python environment. Right. Now you click on your Jupyter notebooks with the launch. When you launch the Jupyter notebook, the progress bar starts working and your command prompt opens up a server. Right. So basically, what is a Jupyter notebook? It's a server and a client architecture in which the server is run and you can access the Jupyter notebooks on your client machine. Right. So this localhost is your client machine with your port number and a structure of your directory structure. That is the tree structure. So what it will give you? It will open up all your directory folder in your that is present in your Windows machine or any other machine, right? And on the right hand side, you can see it says the Jupyter notebook is running at this URL, that is http localhost colon 8888, and it has given us the token ID also, right? Similarly, it says use control -C to stop the server and shut down all the kernels. Basically, it's a client and a server architecture in which the server is running, and on the client side, you could access the Jupyter notebooks, right? This Jupyter notebook is very, very powerful because it's in you can run this Jupyter notebook on the remote machine also by changing this IP address, right? So let's look at the Jupyter notebook. After it goes to your directory structure, you have some options, which is files, running, clusters. Okay, let's begin one by one. And on the right hand side, it says upload and new, right? Okay. Now let's begin with the new part. So here in the new option, you have three options. That is, either you can go with the Python 3 notebook, and either you could create a new text file or a folder, or you can go to the terminal. Okay. So we'll see this one by one. We are now creating a new notebook with Python 3. Let's click this, and you can see another tab has been opened, and which says notebooks untitled 4.ipynb kernel name equal to Python 3. Now it says your Jupyter notebook has been opened up, right? Now these are these cells in which you could write your code and execute your code with the Python environment itself. Okay. Now the Jupyter notebook has been named as Untitled. First of all, let's try to change its name. So we'll change its name to lecture underscore data types and rename it. So now it has been renamed. One thing to remember, the extension of the Jupyter notebook is IPYNB. And what does it hold? I means interactive, py means Python, and nb means notebook. Okay. Now these are the interactive cells in which you could write your Python code. If I try to write print hello world, and I can execute by pressing this run button, hello world gets printed onto your after your cell, right? So these are interactive cells. These are interactive Python script editors, you can say that, in which you could write your code and execute in, and there and only there you could see the output, right? Okay. Now here you can open a new folder also and terminal also. Okay. So let's try to make a new folder, and we will put all our Python files or notebook files into that folder. Okay. So basically, this is my directory structure. I go to GitHubs, and then I go to Python trainings, and I'll create a new folder. Okay. Now new folder has been created with the name Untitled folder, right? Now I will click on this folder with the checkbox and try to rename it, right? True name, right? Now a folder has been created. Now I go inside that folder. Now I am in the path documents, GitHub projects, Python training, and pruning, right? Now here I could create a new Python notebook. Now new Python notebook has been created. Now we'll try to rename that, and it has renamed. Okay. Now up till now what we have seen is we have created a new Python notebook, and we have also created a new folder in which we had put our new Python notebook, so that our directory structures gets organized, right? Okay. Now we'll move to the next step, that is running. Now here you can see that my two notebooks instances are being running, right? And they are up and running, right? So I need to shut down my previous instance, that is lecture underscore data type, which we have earlier created. Now this document GitHub projects Python trainings Tunix is our base notebook which we're gonna work today. Now I'm shutting this down, right? Now when you shut down, now you can see that in the server, now the kernel has been shut down, a specific kernel. So it's basically working is just like that. You create a separate kernel, the kernel get executed, and kernels get started. Now you wanted to shut down that kernel, a specific kernel will get removed or will be shut down, right? Okay. Now in the files we have these Jupyter notebook which are up and running. Okay. Now we can easily close this file, right? Okay. Right. Now one thing to remember, even if I close both the files, this notebook instance is still running in the server, right? So you need to make sure you shut down from here, then and only all the files will be shutted down. Otherwise, by closing the browser, it will not get shut down, right? Now I am opening again this data types, and it will be opened again, right? If I try to shut down, then it will be shut down and will be no longer be accessible, right? Okay. Okay, so this is the basic structure of our Jupyter notebook, right? So here I write a print hello world statement first of all, and then we'll try to move further. Okay, so previously I told you you could run your file by the run command. There is a shortcut command also, that is shift and enter. Shift plus enter. If you press shift plus enter, this will get executed. Okay. Now let's see the file, edit, view, insert. So there are some options present in our Jupyter notebook. Let's see one by one. To open a new notebook, we can go into the file menu, click on new notebook and open a new notebook file. So this notebook or Jupyter notebook will be created at the same folder which we are working, at this same folder which we are working, right? So we can make a copy of it, we can save as, we can rename it. Okay, we can also save and checkpoint, right? And we could also revert to a particular checkpoint, right? Okay, so these options, I guess everybody would be aware of, because these options are common in other platforms also, right? Save as, rename, and save and checkpoint, right? If we wanted to close, we can close this notebook, right? Okay, right? Okay, so this is the basic working of your Jupyter notebook, right? Okay, in further lecture also, we will be also working on some concepts of the Jupyter notebook. Okay, so let's try to work with our data types and our variables. Okay, so in this lecture, we will see how to name a variable, what are the basic data types present in the Python language, how to identify a particular data type of an object, verify if an object is of certain data type or not, and then we'll see how to convert an object of one data type into another object, right? And in the later part of the section, we will see how we can print a particular data type inside the print command, right? Then we'll also see the input function. So these are some of the inbuilt functions which Python has provided to us. Okay. So how we could name a variable, right? Values that are assigned to a variable is used by an assignment operator. Okay. So the values name or the variable name should be short and descriptive, right? So in this part, I create a variable that is name, or I'll say my name equal to Ram, right? So here you can see that my name is a name of the variable, and we have assigned the variable to some value that is Ram, right? By using this assignment operator. So this equal to is known as assignment operator, right? And in the internals, what is happening is, so when I try to execute this statement, a block of memory gets executed, a block of memory gets initialized with this variable name that is my name, and it assigns a 2 byte of memory space with this variable name that is RAM, right? So in the internals, this is, it has some specific memory address. So this variable has some specific address which contains this information, that is RAM is present at that particular location at that particular address, and the name of the location is my name and the address is some integer values or some values, right? Okay, now we have some conventions for naming the variables, that the variable name should be short and descriptive. So you basically, when you are working with your Python language, try and come up with the variable name that is very short, right? It it means that you avoid long names, right? And it should be descriptive, so that other person should also understand what this variable name contains, or what kind of value it is holding. For example, this is my name, right? So it could be easily recognized that the variable name includes some kind of a name that the user is trying to say. For example, I would say salary, right? So this is the value which variable name, that is salary, we can recognize by the use of the name of the variable, right? Similarly, if I put s is equal to 1,20,000, so nobody would recognize, because what is s, right? So by saying salary equal to 1,20,000, so we are able to recognize that, right? So designed to indicate the intent of its use to the end user, right? So we must design or write our variable names in such a way that is being designed to intend the use to the end user. Then we avoid one character variable names. So one character variable names are usually used in looping and in functions, that we will see in further lectures. So variable names can also be alphanumerically. That we could not only have my age, salary, we could have salary 1 equal to 1,20,000, right? This is alphanumeric. My equal to age 1 equal to 33. So like this also we could hold true, right? Age 23 equal to 23, right? So we could have variables alphanumeric also, right? That is a combination of strings as well as alphabets. Okay. For example, here in this slide you can see that age equal to 55, age equal to 55, age 2 equal to 55, and age equal to 55, right? So variable names could be termed as alphanumerically. But one thing to remember, and this is a constant in naming the variables in Python, that is, first letter must start with the alphabet. We cannot start our variable names with the numeric keywords, that is 0 to 9. If we try to do that, it will give us the error, right? For example, I'll start 1 and then I'll say age equal to 12. I run this part, so it's a invalid syntax, right? If I try to change like this, age is easily accepted. And if I try to print that age, so age gets printed. Either in the Jupyter notebook, you could write the variable name and run that part, or you could write the print statement also. Both the ways it will work, right? Basically, it's a console part, and in which you could write your variable and get the output there and there itself, right? So one thing to remember, we could have our a variable names that is named alphanumerically, but we cannot start our variable name with the numeric keyword. So this is the constant which needs to be remembered and followed. Then the another constant is that other than underscore, I repeat, other than underscore, no special character is allowed, right? For example, if I write age underscore 1, so this is allowed, as it starts with your, it doesn't start with the numeric keyword, it is alphanumeric, that's okay, and it also includes underscore, that is acceptable, right? If in place of age underscore I write at the rate, so this is not acceptable. So we say can't assign to operator, so it will end up in error, right? So one thing to remember, always use underscores while naming your variables, or other than underscore, no special characters are being allowed, right? Okay. So we could also start our naming of the variables with the underscore. So this is also true, right? We could start like this also. And if I write like this also, this is also true. generally this type of notation is avoided in terms of variables. So we do not start the variable name with the underscore or end our variable name with the underscore. So it can be done, right? But it is highly there, like you variable name should not begin with an or end with an underscore, even both are allowed, right? So it is allowed, this operation is allowed, but it is highly recommended you do not use it, right? Okay. So now there are two constants by naming a variable. First constant is that we cannot start our naming of the variable with the numeric keyword, and other than underscore, no special characters are allowed, right? Now there are some naming conventions to write your variable. First is the camel case, that we have some lowercase letters and then we have uppercase letters, right? As you can see in this slide, so age is a lowercase and employee with the E is upper, right? Similarly, age with the A is capital and with the employee of E is also capital. Similarly, we could have snake case also, in which between two words we could have a underscore, right? So similarly, this is a partial case, right? You could choose any naming convention and name a variable. Now here we have seen that we have assigned values to the variables, right? So the single value has been assigned to our variable part, right? Now in this part we'll see how to assign values to multiple variables. For example, I wanted to assign physics, there's a variable name, value 89, chemistry 90, and mathematics 75. So I could separate this out by a comma and then assign that value. So this is also another method in which you could write your variable names and assign multiple values to your variables, right? Let's see this part. For example, I will write name, age, and I will write country. So these are the three variables which I've created. Now in the first part, I want you to assign a name to it. Suppose I'll assign Ram, comma, age is 33, and I'll assign country as India, right? So I'll execute this. When I type name, so Ram gets printed, and age 33 gets printed. Country, India gets printed, right? So in this part, we have seen how we can assign multiple values to our variables, right? Now we'll come across the data types. Now we'll see what are the basic data types present in the Python language, and we will try to learn about it. Okay, so these are some of the basic data types which are present in the Python language. Let's start with the Boolean. So Boolean is a data type which represents values of logic associated with conditional statements, right? So Boolean has either a true value or a false value, and the representation of a Boolean variable is bool, right? Okay. Then we have the integer data type. Integer data type consists of set of all the integers. It consists of positive and negative whole numbers, right? Ranging from minus infinity to plus infinity. And the representation of integer is represented by int. Then we have the complex data type that contains a real part and an imaginary part, which consists of set of complex numbers, and its representation is complex. Float, we have the real numbers that we know that floating point values, the values in which we associate a decimal point value. That is representation is float. And strings, all the strings or the characters enclosed between single or double quotes is known as strings. Okay. Now, strings is basically a sequence of characters, right? There is no such data type called as char in Python. Whether you write a single character, whether you write a sequence of characters. That is itself represented as a string. So one thing to remember, for those who have come from a C++ or a C background, they might get confused. In C, we used to treat a single character as a char, right? But there is no such char kind of data type present in Python language. The only type of data type which is present in Python are these, right? Which you see on my screen. And string is a sequence of characters. Whether you write a single character or whether you write a sequence of characters, that is itself represented as a string. So let's do practically one by one and see, look these data types. Okay. So now you've already seen name. So name is Ram, right? So this is your data type, is your string data type, right? Right. So either you write in double quotes or you can write in single quotes. The value is same, right? Here I have shown you, I have written in double quotes, and here I have written in single quotes. That is same, right? Now this is your string data type, right? But you cannot trust me blindly, right? You can question me and you can ask me that we cannot blindly follow you that it's a string data type. Show us some kind of a program or some kind of validation technique in which I could see whether this variable actually consists of a string data type or not. Okay, I understand your point. Now, to check an object of a particular data type, we use the type command. So type is an inbuilt command which is present in the Python to check the data type of an object. For example, here in the screen, my variable name is Ram. My variable name is name, and the value is string, and the value is Ram. But I wanted to check. So what I'll do is I'll type the type keyword and I'll put that variable name and try to look for the particular data type of this variable. So basically what this type is telling me, it is checking the data type of the particular variable which you provide in the parentheses. So I am trying to find out what kind of data type this name variable will hold. So when I entered this, executed this statement, so it has shown me the string. Now this logic proves us that this actually has string data type, right? So now what I'll do is I put a single character R, right? Now in the earlier example, I have put a sequence of characters. Now this I wanted to check whether it's a string data type or not, right? Okay, so now name value consists of R character. Now I again type and print name to it. So now we can see that either it is a sequence of characters, either it is a single character that holds a string data type. Okay. Now, if I put double quotes, right? Either you put double quotes, either you put single quote. The value inside your double quotes is always your string, right? This thing we need to remember. Either you put a double quote or either you put a single quote, that is your string, right? So I put a name variable, the value is R with the double quotes, and I put a type. So this is also a string. Either you put a double quote or a single quote, that is value is string. That will not get changed, right? So now here in the screen, you could see employee name equal to Ram, age equal to 55, and height equal to 50.6, right? Now we wanted to check what type of data types the particular variables hold. First we typed type equal to employee, that holds string variable. Then we type age, it consists of integer variable, integer data type. right? Then we put type height, that is a float data type, right? So similarly, you could check Boolean also. So let's do it name, age, salary, right? Uh, right. So name is Ram, then age is 33, salary is 14.2, right? And is India is true, right? So let's execute this. And now here I am printing name, print. I wanted to check the data type. So I will type here and I will check here. Then type age is India, right? Okay. So in the first part, what we'll see that name consists of a string data type that is of a particular class, right? Right? So don't get confused between this type and this type. So it is basically the same, but the only difference is that I have put a print statement in that part. So it will give us the class, that the base class basically, right? So now the name variable consists of a string data type, age consists of an integer data type, salary consists of a float data type, and the boolean is India, that is true or false. So either we could have a true value or a false value, right? So if I similarly I change its value and I print that, so there is no such change. So the data type is Boolean, right? So this is how we could identify a data type of an object by using the type keyword, right? Then we could verify if the particular data type is of certain data type or not. Then we are using the is command. We wanted to check if the data type of an height is integer, it will return us the boolean value, that is either it will return us true or it will return us false. So let's check it out, right? Type of name, we wanted to check whether the type of name is str, right? Now you see str is an inbuilt keyword, right? Then it return us true. So right, the type, for example, inside this statement, what is happening is that we have type name, that is string. So basically it is checking if string is a string, so it will return us true, right? So this kind of operation it is going on in this particular statement. Similarly, we could check if the type of your age is integer, it will return us true. If it is a float, it will return us false. So this is how we could check whether a particular data type is of another data type or not, right? Now what we wanted to do is we wanted to convert one data type object into another data type object, right? So that we will gonna check. But before that, I'll ask you a question, right? This is my salary equal to 1000, right? What is the data type of this variable, right? I'll pause this by for 2 seconds and you think about it and then we'll continue. Okay. So now multiple answers would be arriving into your mind, and primarily there are two answers, that some would say it is an integer and some would say it is a string, right? Okay. So guys, in moments before this in this lecture, I've already told you anything which comes under the codes is treated as a string. So this data type is a string. No doubt it is containing an integer value inside the string, but Python will treat as it is a string. So when I execute this statement and I do a type and then I'll do my salary, the data type of this variable is string, not integer, right? Now, in this part, you know that by mistake, I put it as string, but I wanted to change into integer part because if you do some kind of arithmetic operations on string, so that will not happen. It will only happen on integer part because in strings, you cannot do arithmetic operations like division, multiplication, or uh, or addition or subtraction. So it will not work as it is intended to work with the integers. So you need to convert your data type, that is string data type, into integer value, right? So that we're gonna see. So how to convert a data type into another data type? For example, this is my salary, and you wanted to convert this salary into integer, right? So in front of this, you just write integer, and then you followed by your parentheses. And either you could create a new variable or itself you can put it in the same variable, right? Now if I when I do type my salary, it will be integer, right? So now we have converted a string data type to an integer value, right? Okay. Okay, now in this slide you can see that salary underscore tire is 1. So this is the variable, and the type of this variable or the data type that variable is holding is of string data type, but it looks like it should be integer data type because you see that 1 is an integer value. Now you wanted to do a mathematical computation to the salary type, so you cannot do it because if you try to do it, it does not work like integer. Then you need to convert this data type into integer data type. So first, what you do is you check the data type of that particular variable, then you convert it by using your integer and put it in the same variable. Then you again type as a salary type, then it has gone to the integer data type, right? This is how you could convert one data type to another data type. But consider another example. If you try to convert a data type, that is RAM, which is a string data type, into a float or a string, it will return you an error. It will not work, right? Because it is already a string data type and you cannot convert the string data type into integer. But that was such in which you could, it was holding a integer value inside the string. That makes sense. But now in this case, you cannot convert your data type which is actually a string. This we cannot do it, right? So for example, you have your name variable equal to Ram, right? This is a string data type, we all know that. And if you try to convert this string into a float, that is name, it says could not convert string to a float, right? So this operation we cannot do it. Okay, right? So this is not acceptable. Okay, now we'll come to the print statement, right? Okay, now so far I'm writing the print statement, and inside the print statement I'm writing the variable part, right? Okay, what if I want to write the variables as well as my some user defined statements inside the print statement? For example, I just wanted to write my name is Ram and my age is 32. So this works perfectly fine because you have enclosed the statement inside inside the quotes, and it will get executed and it will get printed. Anything which occurs inside the quotes will get executed by the print command and it will be printed on your console. That is perfectly fine. What if my name, I wanted to change this Ram to Sham? There are two methods. Either you can do it manually. That is the easiest method. My name is Sham and my age is 23. Right? You could do like this also. This is the easiest method and it's manually driven. Right? But what if you wanted to have a variable which keeps on changing and takes the value from the variable? That is, I put a name equal to Ramesh and then I put age equal to 42. Right? Now I wanted to do something like this. The name comes from my name variable and my age would come from my age variable. Right? Okay. Right? So I wanted to have my variable name here as name and my age is age. Something like this I want. Right? Okay. So this statement we have written first of all. Then after writing this statement, I put a dot and then I will write a format. Okay. In the format, whatever name and age I want or the variables which I want to get replaced by my name and age is being placed here, right? And inside that place, I put a bracket. Here also I put a bracket, that is curly braces, and assign index 0. And here I assign an index 1. Now let's see what this index holds. Now the 0 will come from name and 1 will come from age. If I replaces the indexes, so this value get replaced. So first we'll try to execute it and then we'll see. Now you can see that this statement has been executed and it says my name is Ramesh and my age is 42. If I try to change this Ramesh to Suresh, right, and age to 35, 25, so now it has been changed, right? So this is very simple. Whatever variables you want to replace, there you put a curly braces. Here I put a curly braces. Here also I put a curly braces. Then I put a dot format and here I put a variables which I wanted to replace. I wanted to replace name with 0 and 1 with age. If I try to change this position, so the position will get changed. Name will come here at 0 and age will come at 1. My name is 25 and age is Suresh. Right? So this is how your format option works. Right? So this format option dot format was present in and is present in Python 2.7 and 3.7. This was the earlier part in which we could write our variables inside our print statement commands and with a format dot format. But in the newer version, you would have a simplified version of this also. So let's see what is that. So far, we have seen that we wanted to write my name is Suresh and the value of name will get from name variable and value of age will get from age variable. So let's try to do like this. My name is name and my age is age, right? Okay. So here I wanted to get replaced, so I put a bracket. Here also I wanted to get it replaced, so I put a curly braces, right? So then I'll put a dot format. This was the older version. Instead of putting the dot version in the end, I'll put it right in the beginning and put a F. So this means format. And you can see the color scheme has been changed, right? And if I try to execute it, it is basically the same, but you don't write the format and the end, you write it at the beginning of your print statements, right? So this is present in your Python 3.7 onwards. If you are working with the older version, that is Python 3.7 and lower version, if you are working with your Python versions lower than Python 3.7, then it will not work. It is only present in Python 3.7 and onwards, right? Okay. So this was your second method. Third method to write your print statement is that you do it by concatenation. For example, my name is, you write like that, then you write a plus statement, plus name. This is the simplest. My name is Suresh. So this is a string. Anything which is inside your quotes is string. So string is concatenated with another string by a plus operator. So as I already said, string can only be concatenated, right? So this is the concatenation operation which has been occurred. So this is how we write it. So this is string plus string. It gives us the output, right? And if I wanted to write another statement, then I put a plus, then my age is, right? Then I put a plus age, right? But it will result us in error. Why? Because here I am concatenating a string to an integer value. That is not acceptable. So I need to typecast this value. That is how we could convert this age into string and then write this, right? So now you can see that this is your string 1, this is your string 2, and again you have concatenated with string 3 and then plus string 4. Okay, one thing to remember, whether you write plus here and do a comma or a space, this will won't matter. Either you can write like this also. This is also same. If you try to separate it like this is also same, right? Okay. So now you can see that my name is Suresh, and then there's no space between Suresh and mine, right? So after this statement name, you are trying, either you could put a space here and then you could do this like this, or you could insert a plus and plus and include a space. So this, what we are trying to do is we are including a space inside our quotes. So this is how you can do like this. Oh, I'm sorry. I have included two spaces, so that's why it was appearing. Right. So do plus operators generally I have included, so that's why it was giving me the error. Right. My bad. So now here you can see that here this is string 1, you have concatenated with string 2. Now another string you have also concatenated, that is space, and then after that another string you have concatenated, then string 4, that is age. So this is how you could convert your statement into your into the print statement, putting your variables part by using the plus operator. That is the concatenation. And one thing to remember, strings can only be concatenated to another strings. So if you wanted to concatenate a string with an integer, you need to first typecast it or convert that data type into a string, and then you can use it. Okay. So this is how your print statement had worked, right? So first we do a dot format operation in which we put the variable name, that is name and age, and the name get replaced by 0, and age is also getting replaced by 0. Name is also getting replaced by 0. here you could change it. So either you could put 0 and 1, right? Likewise, you can do that part. The second method is that you put a f in front of your print statement, which will try to get replace this name by name and age equal to age, right? Another method is concatenation, which I've already shown you, right? Next, we'll encounter the input method. So what is input? It takes the user defined input, right? For example, we wanted to take the input from the user. So then we could have so here it is asking the user to give some specific command, to type some number that can be stored in your X variable. For example, I type it 6 and press it enter. So X is being the value of X is 6, right? But input always takes a string value, right? If you wanted to convert it that, you could type that. So this is how your input statement works. You can also include the statements inside your input function, that is enter the value. So it says enter the value, and now you could enter the value like Ram is good, right? And now if I print X, so X is Ram is good, right? And one thing to again to note it here, when I do the input, now you can see the star mark here in the Jupyter notebook. So what the star mark says, it says the operation has still not completed. So it is trying to ask the user to give me the input, right? So it is still waiting for the user to get the input and then execute that statement. Okay, right? So don't worry if you get this star, because it says it is being executed. The cell is being currently in execution. Okay, right. Okay, now okay, so this is okay. So in this part, so we have done how to name a variable, right? What are the naming conventions of the variable? What are the basic data types? And how to get the particular data type of a variable. Then we verify whether the particular data type is of string, integer, boolean, or float. Then we have seen the typecasting, that is conversion of one data type into another data type, right? Then have seen the print statement, that is three different methods in which we could have our variables printed inside our print statement. Then we have seen the input statement or the input command, right? Okay. Okay, guys. So thank you so much. So in the next lecture, we will cover the next module. Thank you.